There is a single day in every wealthy person's life that changed everything, and almost none of them can point to it on a calendar because nothing happened on the outside. No money appeared, no job offer arrived, no lottery ticket hit. The change was entirely invisible, and it happened somewhere behind the eyes. It was the day they stopped thinking like an employee. Andrew Carnegie had that day, a penniless immigrant boy working 12-hour shifts in a factory basement for $1.20 a week. And then, at some quiet, unremarkable moment, something in the way he saw the world shifted, and it never shifted back. From that day forward, he was still poor, still working, still surrounded by the same people doing the same jobs. But he was no longer one of them, because he had stopped thinking the way they thought. And decades later, that invisible shift had made him the richest man on the face of the earth. Tonight I want to take you inside that shift. Exactly what changes in your mind on the day you stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. This shift is available to you right now, today, no matter what your job is or how little you're paid. It costs nothing, and once it happens, you can't undo it. Stay with me to the end, because the final change is the one that quietly separates the people who stay employees forever from the ones who build something of their own. So let's start with the very first thing that changes, because it's the foundation of all the others. The day you stop thinking like an employee is the day you stop seeing your paycheck as the finish line and start seeing it as the starting line. Here's how an employee sees money. The paycheck arrives, and it represents the end of something, the reward for the hours already traded, a number to be spent until the next one comes. The whole cycle is work, get paid, spend, repeat, forever. The money is the destination. But the moment Carnegie held that first $10 dividend check, money that came to him without a single hour of work behind it, something flipped. He realized money wasn't the end of the process. It was raw material. It was seed. An employee looks at $100 and sees $100 of things to buy. An owner looks at the same $100 and sees $100 that could go out and become more. Same money. Two completely different ways of seeing it. And that single difference in perception, repeated over years, is the difference between a life of always spending and a life of steadily building. So let me ask you the first hard question. When money lands in your hands, do you see the end of something or the beginning of something? Because the answer reveals which mind you're currently living in. The second thing that changes is your entire relationship with responsibility, and this one stings a little. The employee mind waits to be told. It asks, what's my job? What am I supposed to do? What did they ask for? And it draws a hard line around those tasks. Anything outside the line is somebody else's problem. There's a strange safety in that. If you only do what you're told, then nothing that goes wrong is really your fault. Carnegie could never think that way, even as the lowest-ranked boy in the building. When something needed doing, he did it, whether it was his job or not. When the senior operator wasn't there and an urgent message came in, he broke the rule and handled it himself. He behaved, from the very bottom, like the outcome was his responsibility. And here's the deep truth underneath this. The word is literally ownership. To become an owner, in any part of your life, you first have to take ownership of the results, of the problems, of the things nobody asked you to care about. The employee mind says, that's not my job. The owner mind says, if it needs to be done, it's mine now. And the wild part is, the world quietly hands more and more to the person who keeps taking ownership, long before it ever gives them the title. So ask yourself, where in your life are you waiting for permission to care about something you could simply take responsibility for today? The third change is one of the most counterintuitive, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The day you stop thinking like an employee is the day you stop running from problems and start running toward them. The employee mind sees a problem as a threat, something to avoid, to escape, to hand off, to complain about. Problems are the enemy of a comfortable shift, but the owner mind sees something completely different. Because owners understand a secret hidden in plain sight. Money flows toward people who solve problems. Every business that exists, every fortune ever built, is just someone getting paid to solve a problem other people couldn't or wouldn't solve themselves. The bigger the problem you can solve, the more you're worth. Carnegie didn't run from the messy, difficult problems of steel production and logistics. He ran straight at them. And he got rich precisely because he solved what others avoided. So while the employee mind is thinking, how do I make this problem go away? The owner mind is thinking, this problem is exactly where the value is hiding. That is a total inversion of how most people move through the world. So here's a question worth sitting with tonight. What problem have you been avoiding that might actually be the opportunity you've been waiting for? The fourth thing that shifts is how you see time itself, and this one changes everything about how you work. The employee mind trades time directly for money. An hour of work equals an amount of pay. And the math is simple, and it is also a cage, because there are only so many hours, which means there is a hard, low ceiling on everything, and the moment you stop showing up, the money stops. The owner mind refuses to accept that trade as the only option. Carnegie understood that real wealth isn't built by selling more of your own hours. It's built by owning things that produce value whether you're there or not, and by using other people's time and talent alongside your own. He couldn't personally make the steel, and he knew it. So he stopped thinking like a man selling his own two hands and started thinking like a man building a machine that ran on many hands. This is the shift from how many hours can I sell to what can I build that keeps producing after the hours are done. One question keeps you trapped at a ceiling. The other removes the ceiling entirely. So be honest with yourself. Is every dollar you earn tied directly to an hour you personally worked? Or are you starting to build things that pay you even when you're not there? The fifth change is about risk and safety, and it's the one most people are most afraid of. The employee mind worships security. It wants the guaranteed paycheck, the predictable path, the safe choice, and it will trade almost anything for the feeling of certainty. But here's the trap hidden inside that. The pursuit of total safety is itself one of the biggest risks there is, because it means you never own anything, never bet on yourself, never build. You just rent your entire life, one predictable month at a time, and call it security. Carnegie could have stayed a comfortable, well-paid railroad manager for life. Real security, real respect. Instead, he bet everything on an unproven metal called steel, when most people thought he'd lost his mind. But notice the crucial detail, it wasn't reckless. He studied the risk cold before he took it. That's the difference between the gambler and the owner. The employee avoids all risk and so owns nothing. The owner takes intelligent, calculated risks, and that's the only reason he ends up with anything to call his own. So the question isn't, how do I stay safe? It's what's the smart risk I keep avoiding because the safe path feels more comfortable. Because the day you stop worshiping safety is the day you become able to build. And the sixth change is the deepest of all. The one Carnegie would tell you sits underneath everything else. The day you stop thinking like an employee is the day you stop blaming the outside and start looking at the inside. The employee mind, when things go wrong, looks outward. It's the economy, the boss, the pay, the bad luck, the system, the circumstances. And there's a strange comfort in that, because if everything is external, then nothing is your fault. But there's also a hidden horror in it, because if everything is external, then nothing is in your control either, and you are just a leaf blown around by forces bigger than you. The owner mind makes a terrifying and liberating decision. It takes the wheel. It says, my results are my responsibility. Not because everything truly is your fault, plenty isn't, but because taking ownership of your situation is the only thing that gives you the power to change it. Carnegie started with every excuse available to a human being: poor, foreign, uneducated, unconnected, and he refused every single one of them. Not because the obstacles weren't real, but because he understood that the moment you blame the outside, you hand away your power to change anything. So here is maybe the most important question of the whole video. What in your life have you been explaining away as someone else's fault, that the day you take ownership of, you finally gain the power to change? So let's bring it all together, because the shift is really one shift seen from 6 angles. The day you stop thinking like an employee is the day you start seeing money as seed instead of reward. It's the day you take ownership instead of waiting to be told. It's the day you run toward problems instead of away from them. It's the day you stop selling only your hours and start building things that produce without you. It's the day you stop worshiping safety and start taking intelligent risks. And it's the day you stop blaming the outside and take the wheel of your own life. Notice that not one of those requires money, a degree, permission, or the perfect circumstances. Every single one of them happens in the one place you fully control, your own mind. That's what makes this the most hopeful truth there is. Carnegie proved that the shift comes first, and the fortune follows. That a barefoot boy in a factory basement can start thinking like an owner years before he becomes one, and that the thinking is what eventually makes it real. You are, right now, one decision away from that same shift. Not a decision about money, a decision about how you're going to see the world starting today. So tell me in the comments, which of these 6 shifts hit you the hardest, or which one do you know you still need to make? I read them, and I want to know where you are on this road. And if this cracked something open in you tonight, subscribe and stay close, because next time we go even deeper into the way the wealthiest people in history quietly trained their own minds. The day you stop thinking like an employee is the day everything begins. So make it today. Go build something that's finally yours.